How do you think that ruling and that statement from the Chief Justice, John Marshall, applies to the current debate over President Trump's use of the Alien Enemies Act?
Well, two very important things. First, I think if you go into Marbury versus Madison, that was to really outline the ability of the Supreme Court to speak to the constitutionality of American law that has been passed by Congress, signed into law by a president. What it doesn't speak to is for a simple one federal district judge to be able to decide that they're going to take over all matters of immigration and foreign policy from the commander-in-chief. It does not give the court those types of powers. And I think that's the issue that you're seeing right now. Chuck Schumer, I believe, said it the other day on PBS that they have about 200 judges that they've put into the federal bureaucracy, and that they are progressive judges who are now trying to do the job of impeding President Trump from executing his powers as the commander-in-chief. And Marbury versus Madison never spoke to anything like that.
Democrats seem to only want to be obstacles to Donald Trump, not really any solutions for the American people, right? They hate Trump more than they love the American people. And that's always been the case with the Democratic Party. They only really care about themselves, maintaining their political power and their essentially influence, right? Notorious FIS, Ray Epps, January 6th, judge preemptively blocks administration from deporting Venezuelan terrorists. According to this article, they call it a terrorist, but the ACLU wish list is his command. Now, the problem that I have with a lot of these judges that are getting in the way of Trump is the fact that all of them are Obama appointed, Biden appointed, they're Democratic appointed judges. So my argument is, can judges appointed by the opposing political party actively go out and restrict the actions of a president from a rival political party just based on a presumption that they have authority to interfere with what Donald Trump is doing? As you saw from the intro, Byron Donalds made out a very specific claim, and this is many claims I think a lot of Republicans are asking. What are the boundaries of a judge? Should a judge even have the authority to really judge anything on this? Or I'm using a law that was previously passed to justify doing this action currently. And you're a district judge telling you, no, you can't do that? What? A DC judge at that? A place that voted 90% for the Democratic candidate? You let a judge from the party, I don't know, man. A part of me feels like they should be, for something like this to pass, it needs to be two judges who are appointed by two different political parties to interfere with the president is doing. Because I feel like this could be easily used by the other side, like Republicans, to get away with a Democratic administration. Hey, Joe Biden, you can't allow just unilaterally illegals to just come into this country and you just give them temporary status. Where was that for Joe Biden? And I think this is the hypocrisy that many conservatives are calling out. And I think Trump called this out specifically, if I can remember correctly.
Do you think you have the authority, the power to round up people, deport them, and then you're under no obligation to a court to show the evidence against them?
Well, that's what the law says, and that's what our country needs, because unfortunately, they allowed millions of people to come into our country, totally unvetted, totally unchecked. So you ought to ask, did he have the authority to allow millions of people? Did Biden have the authority to do something that's unthinkable? Have open borders where millions of people poured into our country, totally unvetted and totally unchecked, just as you would say. And many of those people were criminals. Many of them were from jails and prisons and mental institutions and gang members and drug dealers and very dangerous people. Many were murderers. We have 11,088 that we know of murderers they murdered. Of that number, at least half killed more than one person. They're in our country. They're in a location near you. Biden allowed that to happen to our country. And his people that really ran the country. And the person that operated the auto pen, I think we ought to find out who that was, because I guess that was the real president. So when you ask me if we have the authority, did Biden have the authority to allow millions of people to come into our country? Many of these people, hardened criminals at the top of the line who have caused tremendous damage
Talking about
I
using
understand
this
that.
wartime powers to
But there is
extract what
still
they
a
call
human
gang
rights
members.
issue,
Understood.
and the way that these people are treated is completely inhumane. And the fact of the matter is, if these were white babies being stripped from their families, if these were white men with families, there would be a whole different level of humanity extended to them. And I don't see that happening. The way these people are treated is absolutely criminal. Criminal.
Yeah, by the way, you invoke the word inhumane. I would just point out that I don't think Jessica Nungare or Laken Riley or any other victims of some of these illegal immigrants and gang members, they weren't treated very humanely. And I think what Trump is responding to is an outcry from the American people to solve this issue, to get the criminals out. And that's what they're doing. That's what they believe their mandate is to do. And I think there are legal arguments to be made, but you cannot deny that the American people are giving them the benefit of the doubt when it comes to exiting from the country these animals.
Yeah, when you're here essentially defending criminals, like this is where they can't seem to make the distinction or the separation. Because in my mind, I think many of the Democrats believe that if they give Trump an inch, they lose. This is why they're not willing to concede. Yeah, criminal leaders should be out of here. This is why you got Boston, or what's her name, Brindy Wu. I forgot the Boston mayor, where she's setting bail low for these illegal criminal illegals that commit these assault crimes on American citizens and just blatantly ignoring the ICE deporter. Like, make it make sense. The ICE detainer. And these are some of the things that American people want something done about it. But when you see these DOJ, like when you see these judges trying to pause some deportation flights, how do you expect the American people to go? Right? Like, all Republicans got to do is saying, hey, look, 63% of Americans want us to deport illegal immigrants in our country. We're trying to deport some of these people, but Democratic appointed judges, and if I go, you do the research, you'll see every judge that restricted or was ordering Trump to pause his deportation flights come from or was appointed by Democratic presidents. What kind of ramification would that explain to the Democratic Party? Democrats are obstructionists. Democrats are a party only for elite, people who are not bothered or affected by illegal immigrants in their country, in their neighborhoods. They're not exposed to some of the problems that comes with allowing people who come into your country who blatantly disregards your country's laws as their first act of immigrating into your country. They don't have to deal with that. In Chicago, they don't have to deal with rival gangs about to get into a shootout with Tren de Agua because their politicians or their people in leadership, Democratic Party, don't want to do something about it because they're a sanctuary city. And when they get questioned on these things, they pretend, oh no, this stuff is not happening, or they obfuscate, or they dismiss. And this is one of the biggest reasons I think no one should be supporting the Democratic Party, especially if you're an American. I can see why you support the Democratic Party if you're rich. I can see why you support the Democratic Party if you're an illegal. But, I digress. I want to play this clip. I think it's a fascinating conversation between Byron Donalds and him trying to make the case of why these judges are actually overstepping their bounds. But, I digress. Let's get into the video.
Chuck Schumer, I believe, said it the other day on PBS that they have about 200 judges that they've put into the federal bureaucracy and that they are progressive judges who are now trying to do the job of impeding President Trump from executing his powers as the commander-in-chief. And Marbury versus Madison never spoke to anything like that.
It says the Judicial Department. Do you think district judges, and then by your own reasoning, appellate judges, should not be able to weigh in on what the law is?
I think that it's very clear you can't have a federal district judge decide for the entire country what immigration deportation proceedings are going to be, because that's the question I think that you're getting to.
No,
and
I'm just asking about interpretation of the law.
Judges?
Does the judge have the power to interpret the law? Because that's what's going on here. And the appellate court's going to hear this today. Can a judge, a district judge, an appellate judge, weigh in on what the law says and how it's applied?
I want to be clear on this. That's not actually what's happening. It's one thing to determine the constitutionality of law. That's really what the federal justice system is supposed to be doing. What these federal district judges are doing is that they are now bringing their own viewpoints on how the law is executed. That's a very different thing. And secondarily, what I would say is, where were these federal district judges when Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were flagrantly misusing and abusing or ignoring federal immigration law? They were nowhere to be seen.
And this lies the problem, right? These same judges, when Biden was doing something that was actively hurting the American people, they sat down and did nothing. If you look at the amount of times that the judge ordered injunctions on Joe Biden versus Donald Trump already equated to Joe Biden, and he's only been in office for 2 months. Joe Biden's entire term, and Trump is about to catch that in a couple of months. Make it make sense. This is actively something that Democrats and progressives are actively planning and doing, because this is the only avenue that they have to stop Trump. They don't have the House, they don't have the Senate, they don't have the presidency. The federal system is the only thing they have left. And then when Democrats sit here and talk about, oh, we're fighting against the system. No, the system works for you. The system's in control of you. This is why I defend the system. Like I said, progressives, they hate something until they're in control of it. Oh, colleges are racist until progressives take over. Now colleges are not racist anymore. This is the whole theory behind anti-racism. Give us control and you're no longer these bad things we say you are. It's just a way to gaslight people into giving you power. And these judges operate the same way. And you wonder why there's some people out here who are walking away from the Democratic Party. This is why you have some people like Bill Maher saying that, hey, it's going to be game over if you continue governing like this. Because at the end of the day, you can ignore reality, but you can't ignore the consequences of reality. Let's continue.
They weren't filing these types of injunctions. They were actually promoting the activity that's put us in the place that we are. So now you do have rogue judges who now want to step into the fray and tell the president of the United States that he's not allowed to deport criminal illegals out of our country, when the American people resoundingly have said time and time again, they said it at the ballot box last November, that they want the president to deport criminal illegal aliens. So who matters more now, John? Is it the voice of the American people or a suite 2, 3, 4, 10 federal district judges? I would side with the American people.
If you were smart, you would. And this is how it becomes game over for the Democratic Party.
How do you think that rule?
So, this is how it becomes game over. A Guatemalan charged with 3 counts of aggravated child rape, released on set. This is the kind of stuff that these judges are getting away with. And these same judges allow Joe Biden to allow mass of these people coming into the country unvetted. And now that the same president, same powers, are trying to deport them out, all of a sudden, that's illegal. All of a sudden, you want a court order, you want to review stuff, all of a sudden. The American people tells you, like, hey, look, polls, majority of Americans favor deportation. Do you need to hear this again?
63%, according to the latest Fox News poll, say that they favor deporting those immigrants. So that's a pretty high number.
Yeah. Who the Democrats are out here defending? Illegals. You saw from that. You saw what's her name, Tiffany Cross. Oh, she always got to bring race into it. You just heard her, Tiffany Cross, making all kinds of excuses. Oh my God, they're being treated humane. What about the American citizens? What about these people in Chicago scared about a turf war between American gangs and Venezuelan gangs? I don't know if that's the case right now, but hey, it was something that was happening under Biden. Judges nothing. Now Trump wants to do something about it. Now the administration coming in, American people voted on their interest. Hey, 63% of Americans say that they wanted mass deportation. I've been saying this line since before the election. Hey, immigration might be just as important as the economy. Liberals, Democrats dismiss it. Oh, that's not true, whatever, letting their bias take over. And then they get reality checked. And now look at them. And they're still doing the same ish. Nothing changed with the Democrats. Nothing. And you wanted us to elect your person? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. But, I digress. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you think this is a winning strategy by the Democratic Party? Do you think that it's a good look for the Democratic Party to have all these judges that's going against Donald Trump and all of them been appointed by Democrats? Is that a good look for the Democratic Party? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'd like to hear what your thoughts and your perspective is. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Please share this video if you feel so inclined. It really does help me out in the algorithm. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.